What's up, everybody? Richard Dolan here for a courageous conversation.
Well, man, today you're right. There's no going back.
How do you feel the weight of that desire?
I have been there for a while.
The story's still being written, and you cut the story short. As they say, I'm playing with house money.
They said, neo-fascist.
You can't imagine, Richard. I've heard everything now.
But I'll tell you what, you ain't never buying your time back. Value your time.
Nothing can humiliate me. I've already done that.
He said, you taught me there was more to life than pain, and that kind of opened the door for thousands and thousands of kids.
Like, you just show up no matter what.
This is an opportunity to kind of delve into yourself and actually pull out what you might have in there.
It forced me to think about life after basketball.
And it's funny because people need to laugh.
You're just passing through, brother.
Once you start a courageous conversation, there ain't ever going back to an ordinary one.
So first of all, how are you?
Good.
Family's flown out?
Yes.
What happens at home? Do you get like naked and run around without clothes until they come back? Like what happens at Brad Lea's home when the family's out?
I get solitude.
You get solitude. And what does Brad Lea do with all that solitude?
It just depends on the day.
Yeah?
You know, respond to emails, work. I mean, I don't call it work, but work, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Chill a little bit, maybe play Call of Duty now and again, smoke a cigar, play chess.
That's cool. We all can envision that right now, a little bit of the palace of solitude for a Superman. Well, listen, as promised to the folks that are in the room, everyone in here are really, truly gurus in the making. And you and I had this conversation a long time. In fact, just the other day, we were chatting a bit about what makes a lot of the gurus really not such great people. Taking money for services they can't render and don't make an impact or produce results in any way. Why don't we, before we end up there, why don't you take us back? Because for you, you're known as the guy that leads one of the greatest podcasts of all time, Dropping Bombs. You've got this incredible platform called LightSpeed that you envisioned and created nearly a quarter of a century ago. Like, you created a platform that to this day is actually unrivaled by any other real competitor that does what it does, LightSpeed VT. But take us all the way back there when you started to first realize that Brad Lea had more than just good looks, great hair, and a good front side.
You know, what's funny is, you know, I hear all these compliments, and I'm in my head disagreeing with half of them, or challenging. But when you said LightSpeed's the best, I'm like, that one's very true.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's
well, because again, my podcast is okay, but it's not huge. Joe Rogan's huge. I always set the bar so high. I don't feel I live up to what other people think.
Isn't that the definition of a leader? Always thinking that they're reaching the standards they set and it's already expired and you need more?
Yes. But just in case people are wondering, like, why doesn't he think he has a top-rated podcast? Well, because there's a billion podcasts and mine's not at the very top. But yes, it is popular. Anyway, I don't want to digress. Your question was, when did I realize I was more than just good-looking and charming?
When did you find your voice? Not everybody that gets into the space of human betterment, training, helping people, actually, in fact, mobilize a voice, especially as strong and bold and constant as yours. I think you'd agree there.
Yeah. Again, I mean, ultimately, I learn every day more and more. You know, I can remember recently where it's almost like you're getting convinced. You see evidence, you hear evidence, you see evidence. But I'm always the guy that says, listen, don't listen to the hate, but I also say don't listen to the love. Like, don't let it get to your head, folks. Okay, you're just a regular human being, and you know, aren't we all? But with that being said, you just keep winning, you just keep demonstrating, and you keep proving, and you notice the evidence just like everyone else does, and then eventually you just start to realize, like, yeah, I am kind of a badass. But I'm not there yet, but that's kind of what happens. So I keep learning every day that, I would say the universal laws apply. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Doing the work, okay, is crucial. I remember back in the day where I had to trick myself into being grateful by putting a sign on the wall. So when I woke up and started thinking about the negative things most people think about, I'd look at that sign and just remind myself I should be grateful that I'm alive. And so over time, it just became more and more natural. So then I started waking up, and first thing, I wouldn't even have to look at the sign. I don't even have the sign anymore. It's just like when I wake up, first thing my brain does is goes to, yes. You know what I mean? Most people don't do that.
No. But you reference hard work, and a lot of people that are here and likely watching this recording, a lot of people always wanted to write a book. They've always wanted to start a podcast. They've always wanted to be on social media. Take us back to when you first started to realize that those were things you needed to do, and what did it take for you to get it done?
Well, I don't know if I realized I needed to. I think I wanted to. And, you know, I like to do what I want to do. And once I commit to something, I try to make sure I do it. Writing a book was something I wanted to do, even though after I read the book in audio, because it's out in audio now, I realized it wasn't edited correctly. There was like, I'm surprised people aren't DMing me confused as to how it went from what I was saying to what was said next. It's like that didn't even go together. When I was writing the book, those things didn't even go together. Isn't that crazy?
Well, at least you got a book out.
But you know, listen, who wants to write a book? Who's wanted to write a book? Okay, so my question is, why haven't you?
Too much time with dogs.
Huh?
Spend too much time with dogs.
No way. That's a priority, bro. If you cut your neck open, your dogs could sit there a minute. You're gonna go take care of that neck. It's priority. Your book writing isn't priority, and mainly because, like, who knows what's going to happen? Is anyone going to read it? Am I going to look stupid when 6 copies sell? So you have to, like, make a decision, and that's what it boils down to. One day I decided, to answer the question bluntly, one day I decided, and decide, if you look at the Latin meaning, means to cut off. Cut off, decide. So I cut off every other option and just decided I'm going to build a brand, build a personal brand, a social media presence. You know, I watched what it did for Grant. Like, he was, you know, Gary Vee. You just go through all these. I mean, who thinks Gary Vee's strikingly good looking?
Not a single person. Not a single person.
Gary Vee's not gorgeous. Oh, well, how's he famous? Everybody thinks you got to be this, you got to be that. One day I'll do this. One day will do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. But you're not doing it. So you got to figure out why. I want to write a book. I wrote a book. I want to build a brand. I build a brand. I just think you have to decide, make the decision, and then block out anybody that goes against that option. I don't care who it is. And you'll get a lot of people that are against it. You have to cut it out, cut it off.
I'm personally curious, like, do you ever have days where you don't want to get in front of a camera, you don't want to talk about stuff?
No, because the camera is just filming me. So you're asking me, is there ever a day you don't want to be you? And I'd say, nope. Is there ever a day you wouldn't want to be me?
I love being you.
That's supposed to be funny. I got no laugh whatsoever.
I'm laughing though.
But no, I mean, dude, the trick is to be you, and most people won't.
No, it's true. And it sounds to me that it's also quite liberating for you to always be you, always be able to have the room and the space, the support and the systems. You've got people following you with cameras. It wasn't always like that.
No.
Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't like you were born into the world and out you popped and there was cameras already on you from day one. You took an appreciation for what it meant to always be capturing moments you lived. And you knew that every livable moment was a content-ready moment. And I think that was a big shift in the way in which you started treasuring some of the great IP that you just constantly would create. Just last night, we were out hosting some of our guests, and it was amazing was just watching you speak. Some of that was actually really great gold. And I found myself pulling my own phone out, just filming you in those moments. Do you notice yourself being a consummate content creator? Is that a conscious thought for you, or it's just natural for you?
Well, I go against the word content creator, even though technically by definition I would be considered one. I just think it's living. So again, I mean, sometimes I forget the cameras are even on, And sometimes they forget the cameras are on too.
That's true.
I'm like, hey, you get that? They're like, huh? What happened? So you just got to get used to having cameras on you. And it's the times that you're not creating content that you'll get the best content. Like upstairs. Like that wasn't creating content for me. That's just talking. And that's where you get the real. And the real is what translates to authentic and gets people to go, I like this guy, or I don't like this guy, but I don't care which one they go with as long as they go with one. A lot of you guys are so worried about being hated, you don't find the love. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I better not put that up. That'll make me seem like, well, are you a? And even if it does make it seem like one, who cares? Are you one? Like, you don't know yourself well enough to know that that doesn't make you anything? Someone's opinion doesn't make you anything? Do you know that? So again, like, you hit that button. You might say you know that, but do you live that? And that's the difference. I try to live that.
Well, I think one of the things, one of many that we've been working on is this Good to Guru platform, which is helping people level up and begin to not just optimally operationalize their own vision for their business, their voice, their story, and what they're up to, but get them out, and what we call amplification, starting with your show. And what I personally find is that in following you for as long as I have, and cognizant to creating content, although it's just natural expressions being captured by film, is that once you're out there and you're creating content, you see it makes an impact. The pressure's there to keep it going on. Y'all get what I'm saying? Do you ever feel pressure from your followers, those who revere you, celebrate you, champion you? Do you ever feel pressure from any place in your life that people are counting on you?
I'm sure I do. I probably don't register it though. I'm stoic.
Stoic. And what does stoic mean to you?
I deal with it. I don't complain. To me, stoicism is when you can like take an incredible amount of shit and not really let it affect you.
Got it. So let's dare call you a guru. And I'm doing that for the sake of this conversation, because of the two of us, I would reckon that you are. And so if you just let that sit with you for a second, here's what I want to say. Now that you are, and now that you've got a brand, and you're known for a stand, keeping things real, right? An acronym. And now that you've got a podcast and you do shows like Brad Vice is one example, you're a speaker, you're in front of people in various ways in different forums, how would you find yourself describing life for Brad Lea? Now that you're doing all those things, do you find yourself living life differently, better, fortified? I saw that too. Or is it just the same as before the cameras, the role in the action?
I'd have to think backwards, and I usually don't do that. That's a good question. Just feels like life evolving, Feels a little bit more freeing. But again, to say that I'm a guru, I wouldn't say that I'm a guru either. I have experience. I've done the work. There's the difference. So a lot of people want to be a guru because they see them, but they've not done anything. So let's say you're one of them. Well, I would suggest that you go do something. That's all you have to do. People say, well, shit, I wanted to be one now. Well, then start showing that you're trying to be one and document you doing something. So by the time you achieve something, it's all documented. And there's millions of followers that were cheering you on the whole time. But like I know there's gurus out there that are basically broke. Like they're broke. They don't look broke, but I know they're broke. They're broke. So, but they're giving out advice to be rich. Well, you're not fucking rich, and I can sense it. Now, can everyone sense it? No, because most people are walking around sleeping. They let the cars fool them and the image fool them. When in reality, if you follow that person around every day, you go, wait a minute, this guy's just a normal person. That's right. That's right. So I did the work. I think that's the difference too. If you guys have achieved something, like again, your work. That's why you're ready to go. But again, you've done the work. I don't have to convince you know fucking dogs and how to train them. But I do sometimes find people trying to be gurus, and I got to convince them that they know what the fuck they're doing. They got imposter syndrome. Why? Because they haven't really done anything. They're trying to fit in somewhere rather than, create. The best way to guru anyone or coach anyone is to first do something yourself and then reach back and help those who you used to be. So a lot of people are trying to help these people. Well, you've never been there. You don't understand where they're going, what they're doing, what they're trying to do. If someone comes to me and tries to talk about building businesses, well, dude, I've built several from scratch, which is harder. If I could go back, I would have just bought them. Like, guys, don't try to build businesses, just buy them. Trust me, shit's already going, processes are already there, So I say all that to just make sure people realize, like, if you're gonna go build a personal brand, that's not a guru. You don't have to be a guru. You have to be, different. So I don't know who's trying to be a guru and who's trying to build a personal brand, but to me, they're not the same thing. If you're trying to be a guru, you need to go do some shit, be where you were, and now you're not because you successfully found your way out of that situation. I had a dog that was this. I freaking went and started doing this, and here I am. So when it comes to dogs, dude, he doesn't need any confidence or he doesn't have imposter syndrome, I'm sure. So that's a guru, right? I would say go back, start now, or go think back and say, where was I? And how did I get out of that? And then go help those people do the same thing. Because that's what, to me, a guru should do, is all I'm doing is showing you where I was and how I got where I am, because you want to go there too. And I also say that's how you should pick a guru. What do they do? What are you trying to do? Because why would you pick a guru just because they're rich? Well, I'm trying to get rich. Yeah, doing what they did. What are you trying to do? Pick a guru that's already achieved what it is you're looking to achieve. And then that's the person that'll probably collapse time and get you there further, quicker, faster, cheaper. So if that's what you should hire, right, and that's what you should hire, that's what you need to become. Make sense? So become the person you needed. You know what I mean?
Well, when I say the word guru, for the sake of just making sure this is clean and tidy, I think it's, and if you're writing down notes, I think it's both a status and a standard, right? Where people revere you as someone who's top of class, best in class, top of that hierarchy of the best in that particular realm. So guru as in a measure, a standard that one would revere to be inspired by you or want to hire you. So when you think about standards and status, this is not just saying it, because I do agree with you. In our world, when people are trying to be speakers and coaches and trainers and mentors, they want to be the one who's being respected and revered, but they're not living the advice they're giving. They're not living the training they're giving. They're not, it's like me trying to train people on how to be a great communicator, and I say lots of ums and ahs, and consistently so, right? I lead what I'm masterful at. But I'm also, and if you're making down notes, I'm going to get back to Brad, is I'm also and remain to be, and I hope you caught this, we're both students of the stuff we teach. We're still work in progress. Like, I'm still bettering myself. I'm still asking people, what did you think? Where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? Let me adjust. I'm still inspired by friends and colleagues, partners, who I get to take parts of what makes him tick and say, I love what he does there. I'm going to incorporate that into myself. So I'm constantly fortifying myself as I admire parts of what Brad is, so I can become a better version of who I am. Brad, is there anyone that you look up to right now, are inspired by, besides me, that you like and or wish to emulate parts of, that you can share with people? And I offered one example just to get the conversation going.
Yeah.
That was meant to be funny too, by the way.
No, you do. Again, I mean, sometimes I wish I could get up here and just be slicker than shit through a goose, but because everybody wants to present well and use the perfect words, and sometimes I try to use the perfect words and I'll pause, and sometimes the word doesn't come at all, and then you really look stupid. but I don't care about looking stupid. And then I realized, so why am I searching for a word? Just use the one that pops in my head.
Right.
So, because again, I mean, I recognize sometimes when I'm speaking, well, that was the poor choice of words.
Like smoother than a goose's shit. Like, I mean, that's going to haunt me forever.
Yeah, but that was good.
It was good. It was good.
Like, I recognize that I could improve in a communicative state, but I also realize, who cares? Nobody's perfect except you, right? So at the end of the day, I look up to people that are smooth and, you know, well put together like you are. I look up, well, I don't look up, but I mean, I admire, you know, people that could be themselves, really, the most. So when you think of those people, name people in the world that you think are real. How many can you name?
Not many, but you're
Name
definitely
some.
one of them. Brad Lea.
Gary Vee.
Gary Vee,
Lopez.
I'd agree. Ty Lopez, yeah, I mean, I haven't hung around him long enough to know, but maybe.
Seems like he's speaking from the heart.
Well, he's a knowledgeable dude. Ty Lopez is definitely a smart dude. But I'm talking about really who they are. Like, I've never really seen him cut up and have fun, but maybe he's not like that. I've talked to Gary at length on occasion, and Gary is like more like me, where he just says what he thinks, and he doesn't really care whether it's, you know, the truth hurts sometimes, and he's more real. But there's a few. You can't think of a million because there's not a million people in there. Now, if you walk into a room and everybody in the room is running around and there's two people frozen, who are you going to notice? Huh? The frozen people. Why? Because they're different. So right now in this world of noise, I would suggest you figure out who you are and then share it with the world. That will build a personal brand. Again, guru is a different thing. Again, guru is a different thing.
It's aspirational. Let's be clear about it. It's a destination.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
level.
there's people that like I would say a guru is more of a teacher, like you. Like, out of me and you, you're the guru. I'm not the guru. I'm the personal brand. I'm the, you know, the more known represent. But a lot of people, they don't even know what I do. It's crazy. They're like, I didn't know you had a software company. I'm like, you didn't? Like, don't I talk about it a lot? And they're like, no, I thought you were a relationship guy. Like, relationships? What do I know about relationships? Only because I've had so many? But dude, listen, I'm not there to judge. I'm not putting out a particular brand. I'm sharing me with the world, and I'm not afraid to. So if you guys start there, mix in the actual, you know, shit you need to practice and internalize, and I say internalize because sometimes you hear it but you don't feel it. You have to hear it and hear it and hear it and then try it and hear it and feel uncomfortable and hear it, and pretty soon you start to get a little more comfortable. So that's internalizing. So again, to me, there's a difference. But I agree, there's overlap for sure.
Well, I'll share this with you in the time that we've got left, and that is, you know, when you consider the hero's journey. Many times, whether it's DC Comics or Marvel, you can pick any superhero. There's often a time when that particular main focal hero ends up discovering a superpower, right? Is reluctant to accept it, wrestles with it, then finally starts to kind of play with it, tries to look for ways to resist it or repent it, but then officially, and at some point, adopts it. Just succumbs to it. But then, if you follow the hero's arc, and it comes back to this guru statement, is that there's a purpose in why you got it. There's a purpose in why you have a real voice. And when you look at the problem you solve, for example, Brad, in the world, I believe that you reconnect people to their authentic selves by you being the test pilot on doing it first, and doing it daily, and doing it always. So with that, I want you all to write down this term, and it's the first time Brad's gonna hear this, and you know he's gonna call it fancy pants, but here's what I believe. In the research I've been doing to create this new partner platform that we've launched just about 6 months ago, and it's been exquisite. It's helping people who are aspiring speakers, trainers, coaches, or influencers that really wanna be top in class. They really aspire to be instruments of impact. Here's what's getting created, and here comes the term. First time he'll hear this, is celebrity equity. celebrity equity. And celebrity equity, by my definition, is some form of additional social worth that you can create influence in the world, like vote for them, not they, or go left, not right, or buy this, not that. Celebrity equity, also known as influence. But celebrity equity, once you can measure it, you can grow it. If you can track it, you can crush it. And that's why what we're doing for getting people in your following to at least aspire to be heading in a certain direction, guru may not be the right term, but guru is a great destination. And with that being said, I know it's just the beginning for your celebrity equity, but you've got much of it in all areas of your life. Final question, here it comes. Of all the things you're up to, between being an author and a podcaster with the great show you've got and the other formats that it comes in, aside from your real group of companies, from solar to financial to merchant services, and even some of the initiatives you've got, like Job Offer is one of my favorite, and LightSpeed, like an institution, what's your favorite? Where does Brad Lea love spending the most time? Is there any one of those sandboxes you can always find Brad Lea in his bathing shorts and beach towel, hanging out in that beach more than anywhere else?
Whichever one is requiring attention the most. I go where the squeaky wheel. I go with the squeaky wheel. I mean, you know, it's a good question because like I like them all. The Job Offer I like because I'm showing people how to get out of the rat race. If they just listen and follow what I'm saying, they're going to make themselves a ton of money, change their life, and make me a ton of money while they're at it, which that always helps. Then there's LightSpeed, which is, you know, thinking up LightSpeed 24 years ago, it's still behind its time. Like in the next 3 to 5 years, you'll start to see a lot more interactivity. And that interactivity, I started 24 years ago and been trying to get people to understand like the value of it for way too long. Now, had I been polished, I could have walked into a couple of board meetings and said, I feel that I would be instrumental in perpetuating and bang, you know, cashed out already a billionaire. But if I did cash out as a billionaire, I think you would still see me with camera people. So to answer that, I would say, you know, being me. I want to do that more. I like that the best.
Now, I want you all to notice something as I close off in the next couple minutes, is that what a humble and honest answer. So I want you to write down this note that I take from this, and that is, Brad's in love with all areas of his business, right? And the one that needs the help, he gives the time to. So he's fallen in love and remains so infatuated with everything he's up to. And a lot of times people who are up to great things and want more aren't always in love with what they do, largely because it's not making an impact in their own lives because they're not a living demonstration of what they're talking about. So here's a statement followed by a question, and it's our final one. By the way, this has been fun. I'm so grateful that we had this time, so thank you. Tell me this. Knowing you have celebrity equity, and you have it, I know you do, that's why I'm here, and I'm here to monetize it optimally. Knowing that that is true, where would you love to see Brad Lea 10 years from now? And I know it's a tough question, you may not have been asked that before, but knowing that you've got momentum, knowing that you're now beginning to build a right leadership team around you, starting with me and our team and Ken and others, where would you like that to go? Where do you see for yourself taking your celebrity equity, the ability to influence and impact the world in the way you wish and choose? Where would you like it to go?
Ultimately, probably the finale, which is making movies, like real old-fashioned good movies.
Bringing authenticity back to film, traditional film.
Just quality. When's the last time you saw a good movie? Like, they don't make them anymore. So, and I always said I was going to be a movie star, and that's always in the back of my head. And to be a movie star or get celebrity equity. Guys, you want a cheat code to get famous quick? I don't know how many of you have the recipe. What do you think it is?
I think it's just loving what you do, but I'd love to hear what you say.
No, There's one thing that I can promise you. If you have it, you give it to me and I'll do it for you. I'll make you famous. M, write it down, O-N-E-Y. Money. Okay? Get rich as shit, make a shit ton of money and invest it back in the crews, the editors, the videos, the sizzle reels, the ad campaigns. Spend $20 million getting known, and thanks to social media, you will become known. For sure, guaranteed. How do you think you know Ty Lopez? Dude was in his garage making all kinds of videos. One went viral, and then he spent like $1 million a month popping up on every single person's video feed he could afford. And then he monetized it with his, he's one of the first people to monetize a following. Mm-hmm. Then he started monetizing it. Look at Gary Vee. Gary Vee was at the right time. There's timing, there's money, okay? But money trumps timing. If you all have money and you're just sitting on it, I'd go back, hire a camera guy, make sure that camera guy knows, hey, or girl, you're here just to film me. If you get bored, drink coffee, just film me. That's your job. And then boom, you just start spending that dough, and that helps.
Yeah.
I think it's the secret that will accelerate everybody's journey. Grant Cardone, no one knew who he was. He started spending $1 million a month getting his face out there. Now, well, he has $1 million a month, right? Most people don't, so I don't really lead with that. Can you imagine paying all this money to come learn some shit? And all I say is, guys, spend $1 million a month. But go to work, get it done. And I think as the money comes in, remember that money is a tool meant to be used. It's not meant to be saved. If you save it and literally don't use it, it's literally by definition useless. Like there's so many people afraid to hire a camera guy because they're like, oh, that's a lot of money every month. Dude, someone's got to film you. Like, get an apparatus and a GoPro or something then. Like, figure it out. But you have to have content, and it needs to be shared with the world. Like, right now, this whole thing should have been streamed on 5 platforms. Streamed for free. They would have said, what is this real influence shit? Who are those fucking good-looking dudes on stage? And then there'd be the trolls talking about, one of these fags twins? One of these guys gay? All the shit you hear. And I'd be smiling. Because all that drives the algorithm. When everybody talks shit about me, I wish more people would talk shit about me. Put that on social media. Like, let's get those algorithms humming. I don't get a lot of hate. You notice that?
I do.
It's weird. And they say if you don't get enough hate, it's because you're not big enough. And so that's why we will say, oh, you're big. I'm like, dude, I'm not Brad Pitt. I'm Armpit.
Well, the new hate you get is actually envy. And if you're making notes, I'd write that down. The new hate, the new class of hate is envy. There's a lot of people who wish they could be like you with your podcast, driving your cars, doing as you're doing, living the life you're living.
But they haven't done the work.
And that's why it's only envy.
And what's crazy is everyone's done work, just what work have you done? So you got to look back and say, who did I used to be? And how did I get out of it? And you'll go, oh, I know exactly how I got out of that. Okay, good. Now go market to the people that are where you used to be. Because now you're an expert. You've done it. People are trying to be an expert when they haven't done the work, and that causes all these things we're talking about. So I think, again, the secret, if I have one, is I'm not full of shit. Like I've done it. And I'm giving you my opinion, and I'm not afraid to do so. See, I may not be right. Right? I may not always be right, but I'll always tell you what I think.
But you see, if you're listening carefully and as intently as I am, and I trust you all are, and for the sake of the recording, I want to share what I'm seeing, is when Brad says several times he's done the work. You guys heard that? He's done the work. You've done the work. You've done the work. He keeps saying this. And then it would make someone sit back and say, well, what's the work he did? Like, what was the work he performed? What did he have to fix? So when you read his book, and you know his background, and you see where he came from, you realize, oh my God, the work he did was the re-authentication of himself, like getting real is what you call it. And as a result, you now help other people keep it real. So for you, the note I would write down is you've got to really find what are you struggling with? What are you resenting or resisting that you need to just simply embrace and do the work to accept it fully, embrace who you are, and then keep it real. Because that's the victory you need to score. Like to me, when I watch you unfold as you do, as my friend, as a colleague, what I'm always fascinated by, and I've never said this out loud, is how every day you speak, it's a victory for you. Because this version of you didn't exist 25 years ago, right? And so that's why you win the battle inch by inch, yard by yard, where a statue will be erected in your glory because you went in a destination no one told you where to go and where to turn left or right. You know what I'm talking about when you recite that old poem that you had shared many moons ago. But for me, that's what I realize about you. You're the embodiment of what the old man Zig Ziglar said it best. And I want to say this in closing because I know your time's limited. But he said that if you help enough people get what they want, you then shall get what it is that you want. And you're the embodiment of that, my friend. What the old man Zig Ziglar, the greatest, ever said. And I'm grateful for you. And I think everyone else that's in the room are too. And the thousands more that you may be resigned to the idea that they exist, but they do. And I'm here to remind you of that. So keep on keeping on.
Why, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Brad Lea, everybody. My man.
Any Q&A?
Any Q&A for Brad?
Now's the time, yeah.
See, obviously a lot of people now get to draft and collab with you, right? Was there anybody that you got to get some jumps on in that social media game and in that presence that helped you kind of collab and draft and get in that known status?
Yeah, and you know, fortunately it was the big namers, you know. But a lot of them weren't big namers then. You know, I was collabing with people like Grant, Grant for sure. You know, Tony Robbins, you know, he had a chance to work with Tony. Tony's definitely an influence. You know, that's another guy that when you said, who do you admire? Tony, because like that dude will teach and teach and teach and then get on a jet and go teach and then go home and think about teaching. And I went to his house once and he had like sticky notes all over the walls and like, you know, he was just thinking, and then I could write this book and I could interview these guys, and you know, like he's just trying to share information. Tony Robbins. Now the fact that he also is trying to sell you his $100,000 platinum and all the other shit, so what? He's really like real. I'd say Tony Robbins is real. But yeah, I got to, you know, Zig Ziglar. You know, I did a conversation with Zig Ziglar. I got a picture upstairs where I look like I'm freaking 20. I don't even know how old I was. But I got to talk to him. And what he said was, a good way to get what you want is to help others get what they want. And I started to think, what does that mean? And then now looking back, I wish I'd have grasped that quicker. Because I was always out for money. I wanted money. And so like, you know, to me, back then, you know, how do I get money? Well, now, if someone's asked me, dude, you just figure out how to solve people's problems. So that's doing shit for other people. You help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And that's just a fact. So again, wake up every day. What problems can I solve? Well, what problems have you solved for yourself? You know? And that's where I'd start, personally. But yeah, Grant, I would say Grant is the biggest one because he became the biggest one and I was with him doing it. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, you know, I would say I was instrumental in it. I would say he wouldn't, only for joking purposes, but I could play a video where he admitted it. But yeah, Grant was definitely one of them. Who else? Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, Brian Tracy. Did I say Tom Hopkins? Nope. Tom Hopkins. And I just watched them, you know, and they all had their own styles. A guy named Joe Verdi, which, you know, didn't take my advice to get out of the automotive space. He's remained in it, and he's been there forever, but he's still in that space. Grant took the advice. Andy Elliott took the advice. A lot of people take the advice, and that is, you got to master one thing before you worry about more things. But they were mastering what they were doing already. But I got to, watch and listen and learn and observe and soak up and collab, like the 10X stage. I mean, I would say, if anything, that probably kicked everything off. And, how did I get on the 10X stage? Or several of them. I invented the 10X stage. And he said, well, if I do it, you got to speak there. I said, dude, I'll speak there. I ain't afraid to speak. I went and did a stand-up comedy bit. Never done stand-up before. And they dared me, said it was difficult. And I said, can't be that difficult. And he said, let's see you do it. I have a show coming up. I'll let you come down to this show and do a set. And I said, done. I didn't have a set. I don't have a set, but I had a set, if you know what I mean. And so I walked out there with the microphone and did 23 minutes. And if you guys want to see it, by the way, it was captured on video and it's on YouTube. CEO does stand-up comedy. But again, it's nothing about business. It's just me trying to be funny and doing a stand-up act. I didn't do too bad. People laughed. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have said that 14 times in a row. I probably shouldn't have done that, but hindsight's 20/20. But anyway, so all of that, that's the work.
By the way, just as a note in real time, what's incredible about that training, like my model around fear compressing, what's the purpose of fear compressing? Is to have something bubble up. I think it was with you. Remember when you were on the stage? And Corey, you said, I'm not usually on a stage, I'm usually on the ground. So I pulled you down, but I said the reason why the stage is important is because it's going to bubble up the concerns and the angst and the anxieties, right? When people think that they need to be a better communicator, they go to a thing called Toastmasters. Anyone ever heard of Toastmasters? I'm sure you've heard of Toastmasters. And that's a fabulous idea for beginners. But all it's going to result in is the refinement of your coping mechanism, which is still, quite frankly, not the authentic you. To get to who you really are, go do a comedy show. Because you got no choice but to be something that you're not naturally and to pull it out. So that is actually another courageous act of breaking from your default position. So when people say, but I'm a 20-time champion at Speakers Bureau and I can do the Toastmasters Championships, like great, but you suck. So you hit all the techniques and you might impress people because they're checking the boxes, but is your absolute life different? Have you changed your revenue streams? Have you scaled and or dominated a space? Have you conquered your plans? Did you launch your podcast? You all get what I'm saying? So here's what I'll just say if you're writing down notes. In Brad's approach to being where he is, I would say in this interview, in this conversation, a couple conversation, is doing the work means doing the stuff you never thought you'd do. Because he did it. Like he could check that off on a box, right? And say, hey, did that, been there, next. True?
True, and really it was refining the coping mechanism. Because when everybody first gets up on a stage, they feel stupid. I think everybody does.
Of course.
The reason I don't anymore, and I look so natural, is the coping mechanism was worn down.
That's right.
Because before, like my first LightSpeed courses that I created in like 99, I had to drink. And if you go back and see them, I'm drunk sitting there training sales training. And I had to drink or I wouldn't get on the camera. Which is funny because like I say, I don't think backwards. Like I'm just realizing that. Like I always say, oh, I didn't give a fuck from day one, but I actually did. I had to drink alcohol, which is why there's a bar up there still to this day. Because there's always been a bar. So when I filmed, I could get drunk and then film.
Well, it's a pretty bar, by the way. And I'm happy to see that it's fully stocked.
Well, now we use it for when people say no.
Right.
We say, well, let's have a drink, talk about it.
Drinks included. But I want to make sure you got that before I let him go. Brad did things that he was really uncomfortable doing. You've got to commit yourself. You've got to go beyond the stretch point, what is normally comfortable, because that's the only place you'll experience a version of yourself you've not yet experienced.
Which is why at Tony's events, you have to get in those weird, awkward frickin' positions. like one we're doing today. No, just joking. But
he's got good brand names for a lot of our exercises, which are really going to get us in trouble. But
yeah, but when I first closed Tony, he said you have to come to these events and show me how to virtualize and show me what you think we could do. And so I said, okay. So he had me front row, ice cold in that bitch. And every time they started to do the exercises, I don't like those. And so I'd get up and say to everybody, that's wanting to partner up, I got to go to the bathroom. And so I'd duck out. And after about the third time, and every time, by the way, which was a trip. Do you know Sage?
Yeah, of course.
So I'd go to the bathroom, and remember, this is Tony Robbins. Like, I grew up, like, this is Tony Robbins. He's the top of the top of the top. There's no bigger name than Tony Robbins in the whole speaking space. And I believe that still to this day. Although Jim Rohn, you could equal, because that was Tony's mentor. And he's just, good. He's good.
He was really good.
But I'm there like, wow, this is Tony. And so I get up and I duck out because I don't want to like scream in each other's faces or whatever the exercise was. And I'd go to the bathroom. Well, my phone would ring and it's his wife. And she's like, where'd you go? Tony wants you to see this and do it. And I said, oh, I had to go to the bathroom. That was number one. And then I get back thinking, whew, all right, let's go. Listen, great information. And then, okay, everybody, turn to the person on your left or, get knee to knee or whatever. And now here comes another exercise. I got to go to the bathroom. So I get up, go to the bathroom, phone call, Sage, where'd you go? Tony's wanting you to see this. And I'm wondering, like, number one, he's on stage. There's 10,000 people here. How does he know that I'm not doing it? Well, turns out the lanyard I was wearing is a color code that told the staff that he's considering not doing business with me, even though he was. I was a potential business partner. And so they watch you. So every time I got up, I didn't know it, but dude, everybody was watching me. Oh, turquoise lanyards, hitting the bathroom. They have earpieces. They have that thing dialed. So anyway, Sage kept texting me, so I go back the third time, and they say, stand up. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, shake it off. Everybody shake it off. And I'm like, looking like a dick. I don't like that shit. So then they said, now everybody turn to the person, or turn to the right, and put your hands on the person in front of your shoulders. And the dude next to me was this big fat dude with dandruff. Well, I'm looking at this dude's like deformed looking shoulders, like they didn't look right. And there was like skin on it. And what looked like maybe even an oil of some kind. I don't know how oil falls off your hair, but his shirt looked like a frickin' oily dandruff graveyard. And they're telling me to put my hands on his shoulders.
He's wiping his hands.
Yeah, and I said, he's looking back like, are you gonna do it? And I said, ooh, I got to go to the bathroom. And thank God, because they, connected the chain that I left on, and you were supposed to rub the person's shoulders.
Oh boy.
In front of you. So everybody's in this big chain rubbing each other's shoulders. And so I come back from the bathroom. The fourth one, I'm sitting there like this. And as soon as they identify, here comes an exercise, of course, some dude that sounded like the teacher on South Park, that guy that goes, okay. Mm-hmm. He pops his head over my shoulder and says, are you going to participate or not? And I said, I got to go to the bathroom. And I got up and I left. And then I went to my hotel room and just sat there. And, Tony calls me and he said, what'd you think? I said, well, I love it all. I just don't like all the touchy-feely shit. And he says, one of these days we'll sit down and figure out why that is. And I'm just thinking to myself, like there's something wrong with me. And before I would have said, I wonder what's wrong with me. There ain't nothing fucking wrong with me. I don't like that shit.
That's it?
Yeah, but anyway, I don't even know why I brought that up, but there was something to it. Oh yeah, getting out of your comfort zone.
Right.
That's why Tony has, according to him, that's why he has everybody do it, because it is awkward and it is weird. And quite frankly, looking back, I probably should have just fucking participated. And I'd probably be that much better off if I'd have just said, fuck it. But dude, my mind just said, it was almost like walking off the plank. Like, dude, I'm not fucking doing this. This is fucking weird. I don't like it. I should have done it.
Yeah.
And if you guys go get this book, it's called The War of Art. The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. Don't get confused by The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Although that's a good book too, you probably should get.
Yeah.
The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's all about resistance.
Yeah.
And that's how you determine what it is you should do in life. The shit that's giving you the most resistance. You know, you don't really want to do this. Oh, you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. That's life telling you that's what you need to do right there. And do it and do it and do it. And pretty soon it won't be resistant anymore. And something else will be bothering you. And you'll feel that resistance. And they said, you just follow that resistance and you frickin', you know, go through life with amazing results.
Yeah. I think that's the epitome of surviving the dare, right? Sit down and participate. Do something that you never really feel comfortable doing. Survive the dare. And see what happens. See who you become after that. I'm a big survivor of spite.
Well, when we do the exercise today, nuts to butts, I'll have to go to the bathroom.
You're letting out all the trade secrets all up front. Any other questions for Brad?
Notice how I had to use butts tonight.
Butts.
Yesterday I said a different thing. But.
You did, and we got it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's sure the articulation, etc., and bringing everything together there, but the systems and processes, and then extracting everything piece by piece to give a delivery of something. How do you go about doing that? Like, is that LightSpeed? Is it?
What do you mean?
To have something to deliver. So to have a product to deliver, you know, because
to get it out of your head and onto paper.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, again, Rich is the maestro at that. Like I have these guys do that for me. Yeah. Like they're forced to listen to me blabber for 2 hours, and then it comes back like I'm a genius. Like holy shit, did I say that? Did I say that? I guess that is what I believe. And then the next thing you know, I'm using the framework they created out of my blabber.
Right.
And now I sound way smarter and way better. Why? I think it's because I owned it, and what they did is codified it for me.
Right. Bingo. That's the right word. You guys got to write that down, because he just let one of our secret weapons in the arsenal out. The codification of your genius.
And I figure shit out pretty quickly and easily. I don't know if it's an IQ thing, but you know, I watched Kevin Trudeau's infomercial on memory. And he gave out enough on the infomercial where I knew exactly what he was doing. I didn't even have to buy his course. I just listened and tried it, and it worked. So like even to this day, I can do it. It's the weirdest shit.
You're ferociously curious too. Like I tried telling you a story the other day over lunch, which was lovely. And just as I was about to get to the punchline, he goes, "Don't let me guess." And he went off and he guessed the punchline and the moral of the story almost to a T. And I thought, you know, you're not going to get a prize, right? Like you're buying lunch, not me. And yet it's just a part of his innate ability. What you need to do.
I just like figuring shit out.
That's my point. It's part of your genius. That's part of why you're disconnected to the process systems and how to codify what you've got. We're so busy looking good, we forgot to look for what's already great. And so leaning into how curious you are, you lean into it all the time. Wonder why he's having a bad day. Wonder what the end of that story is, right? I wonder how Mr. Dandruff graveyard dude is doing. Like you do get curious about things and people. So we'll lean into that a little bit this morning, okay? Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, pretty much the same. Like from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, it's all I do. It's all I'll ever do. And so the piece that I've always struggled with is getting it out. Doing it is fine. You know, the living is fine. Being me is fine. Offending somebody every single day.
Yeah, you need it codified for you.
Yeah.
You need it codified. You know, someone to draw it out of you, put it on paper.
Yeah.
Tweak it, and then you become a master at that, and then the mastery gives you the confidence, and the confidence gives you the freaking, you know, the celebrity equity.
He's spot on. That's the playbook right there. I mean, everyone wants to matter, but rarely do we want to live up to that standard, right? That's the challenge for all of you. Finding your voice is one thing, but standing behind that voice and what it says every day is another. That's what's so impressive about him, always speaking, but always being the very thing he speaks about, right? So,
and one of the exercises that you know Rich is good at is crafting it with you, because again, you have an idea, but you don't have clarity. I kind of want this, but I'm not sure, These conversations and their processes draw all that out. And then once it's laid out and you see it, it's almost like, exactly, but now there is clarity. And clarity is what you need. You need to be clear. And that's what's funny is I took a test from this world-renowned behaviorist, and he basically tells you what your value is. So I took the test, and he came back and he said, your value is you provide clarity in a world of chaos. You provide clarity. You crave, I forget what I crave. What do I crave? Like, I don't like the bullshit. I don't need to hear a bunch of yak. Just cut to the chase. Give me the bottom line. I crave, I forget what he said. But
forthcomingness?
But it was all in these charts and shit. And I'm like, that's interesting, because that is what I do. And I've got the ability to look at a puzzle or look at a situation and figure it out. Like when you guys are doing your thing, I'm like, well, see, I know what you're doing, motherfuckers. Like, I know exactly what you're doing. You're getting it out of my head, and then your art is laying it out into a framework that can be, which is codified. You're laying out in a framework that can be learned and mastered, and then that mastery creates that certainty and that confidence, and then that's what creates the frickin' celebrity equity or the it factor, because people are convinced that you are.
But what he's speaking on, and it's important for you guys to get this, and we'll get to this work today, maybe a little bit of this work, as I already promised, is, and it became very real for me in this observation method when I worked with Mike Tyson, where the greater the struggle, the stronger the survivor. When I look at you, Brad, the greater your struggle, the stronger the survivor. So you think, like when you say, I've got this innate ability to look at a puzzle and I can figure it out. True, but I would ask, where does that come from? And it's because you came from a time and an era of struggle. What people rarely will do is embrace equally their past, so to understand their future. And I know that sounds a bit complex and even existential, so I don't want to get too deep there, because we are here for real influence. But owning where you're going is really a function of celebrating where you came from. So he plays with that, but just in a very different way. Does that make sense? So if you didn't have such a tough upbringing or a struggle of any kind or an upset in any form, you wouldn't be as strong as you are with the skills that you've got right now. And that's what's going to be a challenge for the future generations, right? Where the greatest struggles my son at 18 has is like, Dad, Wi-Fi's down. It's been down for 3 minutes. What's going on? My life's about to end. I was online with Call of Duty. Oh my God. It's like, really? That's the struggle? Wi-Fi's down? So for us and for you guys, the opportunity is to not find your voice and the reason to share it, but also to then inspire others to find theirs. In the vernacular, in the vertical, in the industry, in the market, solving the problem for others who are just like you 2, 5, 10, 15, 25 years ago. Because he still is. You still are. At this age and this stage in your life, you're still helping the other Brad Lees of today.
Trying to.
And you're doing a great job at it. More to come.
Yeah.
More to come. Thank you so much, my friend.
Sure, buddy.
I know you got to get a new coffee going. Guys, Brad Lea, thank you, sir.
Sure.